Hello everybody, welcome to Discussing Tabletop. It is of course November 23rd, 2019. This is going to be our 130 episode. Boo 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 boo.
Woo!
So exciting there. Of course, joining me as ever usual is my illustrious co-host, Joe.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not here. I'm a figment of your imagination.
Are you? Do I have...
Yes.
You're the weirdest figment of my imagination I could have ever had. Look, see, my imagination comes up with some strange things.
You're not well, sir.
Well, look, like, I could literally tell you about this very weird dream I had when I took a nap this afternoon, because as you notice, I've got a little cold, so I took a nap before the show. Hence why we're starting a little late because of that, and some computer troubles, because that always happens. Because computer troubles
I
suck.
forgot to check if my webcam was working properly.
Well, I was already on the late side, so I can't blame you completely.
Yeah, but that was the computer troubles.
Yeah. So, no. Yeah, a strange, like, dream in Western Canyons that there was going to be these weird, like, cloud thing where there was going to be, like, an explosion. And whoever I was following was tasked with basically doing, like, a video game section of delivering a, like, legendary rock or something to another part out of the blast zone of the explosion or something. It was very weird. It was very... Look, you know, sometimes you dream about things and they are really unusual. And I got some of those lately. So, if you are a figment of my imagination, Joe, not the weirdest. Anyway. That's a great way to start us off today. How are you doing today anyway, Joe? How's your Saturday rolling up?
Been busy.
Busy can be both good and bad, so I'll leave it off at that.
Yeah, not bad. Just had a bunch of stuff I had to do this morning.
Ah. Yeah. Myself, it's mostly rest. So, but let's get into our topics for today, because we do have a very interesting topic.
The only one, apparently. The rest aren't.
I know. God. I shouldn't laugh. I'll cough. See? I got me started.
You're dying. I told you.
Too bad. It's the plague. So we're going to start with talking about some D&D products. There's Ebberon Rising, Rising from the Lost War. And there's a D&D versus Rick and Morty. We have then we have a couple board game ones and a unusual thing. So we're going to talk about the Godtear release, which is a Kickstarter that was successfully funded, came out now. We're also going to talk about another Kickstarter thing with Steve Jackson Games, has a Kickstarter that hasn't started yet, but they've got pre-campaign stretch goals already for Car Wars 6th edition. People are that excited about Car Wars. Then I do want to follow up. I think we talked a little bit about Agatha Christie Death in the Cards when it was announced. I want to talk about it again just for a second for its release. I knew that was going to be a pretty short one, but it was kind of a follow-up. Stampede has been announced by Wizkids, and a board game based on Bob's Burgers is out. Bob Burgers, Belcher's Family Food Fight, if you're a fan of that one, too. Same with the Rick and Morty, if you're a fan of that one. And there is one other thing I did want to follow up on. Last week we did talk about a small controversy in Wizards with the entire thing with that book. They did actually respond to that finally yesterday, saying, "Our bad, you know, we'll try to improve things in the future." They were pretty... They at least responded in a way that I don't think was bad, but I haven't had a chance to see how other people are reacting to that kind of thing. So I'm just going to leave it at that one.
Right.
So, certainly, it's an interesting thing that they've created a controversy for themselves. Good on them.
No controversies. Oh, no.
I know. But let's start, of course, today. We do want to talk about the this Ebberon book that's out now. So, I don't think we talked a little bit about the Ebberon PDF that came out a while ago, which was sort of like... It was kind of nonchalantly released. I thought. You know, it just sort of popped out, and they had it out. So this is like their follow-up to that. So it is a campaign source book, so it does talk to you more about like the Ebberon world. Plus, it is a adventure too, because they call it a campaign setting and adventure book. So nice. I don't know how much adventuring is really in there. I don't know what its format is, because I'm curious as if it's a little bit more like Curse of Strahd, where it's very open-ended.
Right.
Now, they do provide a lot of things in this book. They actually have Artificer in this book, the official Artificer.
Yay, Artificer!
I know. You're a fan of it.
Yes.
We've had a couple people use it, and this is it's appeared in Unearthed Arcana, a bunch of different versions of it, things to do with it over the years now, and they're finally putting it out. This is the first,
and I was gonna say it's the first actual new class since the Player's Handbooks. Yeah.
I think it's going to be very hard for them to put out classes just because of the nature of the way they've been doing things. But I feel like there are a few more class archetypes they could fit in there, so I can see them putting a few more out, but I think we're not going to see a lot of classes. So this is one of the few we are going to see.
Just wondering if you're close to done.
They have their adventure set in the city of Sean in the City of Towers. That's what's in the book.
Skyscrapers, airships, and intrigue.
I know. They have group patrons, a background for the whole party, and they have 16 race, sub-race options, including dragon marks.
Yeah, which transfers certain members of the race, transform certain members of the races in the Player's Handbook.
The last time I had anything to do with dragon marks was in 3rd edition, which I think that was our friend, who unfortunately passed away, Colin, who had his character Brock, who took the belt.
Yeah.
He was like a dragon mark or something, which he was transformed. Yeah.
You totally need the belt. It brings your whole wardrobe together.
Let me put it this way. What it was is like, it was a silly game. I didn't go about the game correctly again, which is fine. But the entire idea of the game was everybody was supposed to, like, you were trapped in an area and you were forced to choose a cursed item that gave you some kind of, it was supposed to be a plus-negative power boost, which I think they weren't balanced very well, unfortunately. And they all had grabbed some, and they learned what, like, some of the other ones were. And they're like, and the belt was something that effectively transformed you into a pixie.
Yes.
And he was a pixie that kept claiming he was a dragon.
Story was dragging on.
Mm-hmm. So there's like I think they have some monster inputs. No, it's the word I'm looking for. Monsters in this book here, because they mentioned that they got some from the Devastating Wars. If they have some more sub-race options for Warforged, that'd be cool. I like the Warforged. I haven't had a chance to play a mass amount of it, but I found it really fun when we've been doing it in Grinding Gears. Advertisement.
Which will be tomorrow.
Exactly. Extra advertisement. So definitely...
We don't self-promote at all here.
No, why would we self-promote? But so it's got an interesting amount of stuff. And I again, like, it's one of those things that I'm gonna be surprised if we, how much we see more of it. Okay, here we go. Yeah, they changed it actually over on, D&D Beyond. I was quickly checking it. They changed it to Rising from the Last War, as where the races are supposed to be from, rather than the previous Ebberon book now. So they got Changeling, Kalishtar, Orc of Ebberon, Shifter, and Warforged. Like, wasn't it like Shifter, Warforged, and maybe one other one? I can't remember.
I am not 100%.
Ooh, you can't access them anymore on D&D Beyond.
Oh.
They put them behind there. You should buy the book now.
Well, probably because now it's not a free. It's just not a PDF. It's an actual book.
Yeah, it's not a physical book. That's kind of an interesting thing that they kind of changed it around there. I mean, they were previously offering the information. They could have just kept with the stuff they had and just had the.
It probably remember D&D Beyond is not D&D, so it was probably something that D&D demanded that okay, you had it up for a while for free, but now that the book's out, if people want this content, they got to pay for it.
Yeah, I can see that. Unfortunately, because it's like it's one of those things that the relationship between the two. We've sort of been learning from and putting out lately a lot more.
Yeah. Like, when it first came out, I thought it was part of Wizards. I didn't realize it was a separate company at first.
No, it's
just
hard
because of the branding and everything.
Yes, it's very hard to tell that it's a completely separate company. I always thought it was a combination between two groups that were working together. I thought it, because of the way they were advertising it, it was like, we're working in conjunction with these people to develop D&D Beyond. So it was a separate group that was working with them. I didn't think it was that the entire thing was considered a separate company.
Right. Yeah, they're just a distribution, a privileged distributor when it comes to D&D.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's kind of how it's a tricky thing of how it works.
Yeah.
I feel the need to yell at people in the hall just to be quiet.
I don't know what you're talking about. I can't hear anything.
I can see it showing up on our show.
Yeah, I know it is.
Well, I keep trying to mute it occasionally. Like, why don't you talk for a minute then?
Okay. But yeah, I think it's a good thing that we're getting another class. I know they've been trying to avoid the oversaturation, like what happened with 3.0 and 3.5. The system did get very bloated with all the options they had.
Way too bloated.
Yeah, I mean, I loved having all the options, and I miss that sometimes. But I do realize at the same time it was okay. I'm going to create a character. Let me consult like 10 books to figure out what I want.
And I think that's one of those things that prevented Pathfinder from ever feeling bloated. They always had the PSFRD that gave you a lot of that information just out there, so you didn't need to consult 20 different books.
Although, one thought I always had was, I don't think it's a horrible thing to have a bunch of books like that, but maybe with that, come out eventually with a compendium book that maybe is more expensive, but you can get a lot of the information in then one source.
Well, that'd be really good, like a class compendium or a race compendium and stuff like that.
Yeah. Maybe it'll cost more than, your average, player's handbook and, source books and stuff, because it's going to have more information than those normally do. But then you can have a lot of options without having to consult like 10 different books.
Yeah. That's the only complaint I have currently for 5th edition is, like, yes, the common races are very easy, but, like, a lot of the uncommon races, which some of them are appropriate, some of them are not, which is one of those things about it, like, is finding if the race you want to play is appropriate not to your game. The problem with all those is they're spread out over so many different places.
Yeah.
Those races are, like, all over. And, again, it also depends on appropriateness of the race a lot more times, I think, rather than a class. It's almost like some races definitely wouldn't be appropriate to a campaign setting, but there's a lot of ways you can stretch and put something in there. I could see a lot of, like, adventures I've been in that haven't had them, playing a Warforged and figuring out a way to put it in there. That's not just in Ebberon, No,
I agree, because because they are biological too and not just mechanical, there's ways that you can add them into a normal D&D world.
Yeah, and there's like storylines you can have that maybe you're the product of some kind of like lost empire that you don't even know your sources, but like archaeologists found you and you spent a lot of time studying with them, and now like you basically earned your freedom. You're out there in the world. You become an adventurer, something like that. There's a lot of ways to easily explain it. Or like certain races that are very savage races. If you were raised in amongst humans, and like people know you from the place you're at, maybe you do have to worry about those prejudices. But if you're traveling with people, that's why they said to our hobgoblin friend, you should go travel with people because then they'll recognize that you're not dangerous like your normal kin.
Right.
There's a lot of ways that you can kind of excuse a lot of these races. But again, like, when I look over it, they are spread out between, D&D Beyond makes it very easy to see. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 races spread out over or 10 sources with races that are kind of appropriate. And I know, granted, I don't know how much the Acquisition Incorporated race is like appropriate to your setting, so there's like maybe one less there. But if it fits,
Right.
But that's a lot of places to look for a race. And granted, D&D Beyond is not a bad place to look at the basics of them, because it does provide racial traits, but it doesn't describe any of those racial traits. You don't get the depths of it. You'd have to find somewhere else. And a lot of these, as I was saying, for like the Warforge, when I click on it now on D&D Beyond, I'd have to pay for something.
Right.
I think you could probably Google some stuff, but again, it's extra steps a lot of the time. I don't know. I'm glad.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you an idea of what they are, but they're not even all listed in there either, I don't think.
No, I agree.
Unless you have more of the source books.
Yeah.
Through them.
There's a...
See, that's one of the things I would love to see a collaboration with is D&D Beyond and Roll20. Because, like, if you bought a book from D&D Beyond, to be able to port it into D20, Roll20.
Yeah, because you kind of have to buy it on both fronts right now, and that really sucks.
And then if you're also playing live games, you normally want a paperback one. So it's like you could be buying the book 3 different times.
Which is just awful. That's way too many times to buy the books. Like, twice, I think, is too much time to buy the book. Unless you, Unless you give unless they were able to give a discount, from buying, one of them. Like, if you bought the paper... like if you bought the paper book, you could get the digital book, on D&D Beyond for like half price or something. That would make it at least more palatable. Because it's $30 on D&D Beyond, and if I buy that physically for $50 already, I'm sorry.
You just spent $80 on the same book.
Yeah, it is not worth it for $30 for just it on D&D Beyond. I think that's another thing that I have to complain about. That price is heavy. For a PDF, I'm sorry. Paizo would charge you for a PDF, but it would probably charge you $20 or $25 for a book like this.
Where I would say the price is a little more justified with D&D Beyond, not defending, is the fact that you can use all the tools that they have on D&D Beyond with the books. So for character creation and stuff, you have all the tools, create the character sheet right through there, set up battle. Like I have the base subscription right now with Grinding Gears. So I use it for also trying to balance my encounters that I'm creating ahead of time.
But here's the thing. You already have a subscription to get a lot of those tools. Pathfinder, and I looked it up, they have a $60 hardcover and a $15 PDF. Charge me $15 for it. Or if you really are going to charge a little extra, 20. They are charging 30 for it.
But again, that could be something to do with the agreement that D&D has with them on how much they're allowed to charge.
Because actually, one of those other things is, if you notice, D&D does not list a PDF price for it, too. They always think it's going to be physical. And I think that's another thing that, like, I'm a lot happier with Paizo at this point in time with. You know, I really have to say in this case is, like, price point. I love a good physical book. Don't get me wrong. Physical books are one of the things that I enjoy a lot. And if I have a chance to get a physical book that I really want, I will get it. You know? Hell, you know.
I'm looking at the D&D Beyond Marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
You can get their Legendary Bundle, which unlocks all released source books, adventures, and a 15% discount on all future source books and adventures for $615.97.
That just wow. That is an abomination of a price. No, I think D&D Beyond's price points are not great. I have to say that.
I mean, it is a lot of books.
And for some of them, if it's the only book you get, it might be okay. But the problem is are you getting a PDF of it, or if it's just information you could access through D&D Beyond? That's my question.
I think it's just through D&D Beyond, but D&D Beyond has the app with all the source books in it, too, that you bought. So you can still access it, because one of my big complaints with D&D Beyond is the D&D Beyond app is just a glorified PDF reader for the books you buy.
But my question...
You can't use any of the tools that they have.
What happens if they end support?
Right, then you just lost all those books.
Yes. Like, if I buy a PDF from Paizo, I have that PDF from Paizo. Period.
Well, you might be able to download. I'm not sure. Let me check something.
If you could download a PDF of them, that is what the problem I'm looking at here. It's also is, if you're using the app, are you either using your data or your internet to access it?
True.
Granted, probably is not a lot of data, I'm going to say. But there are still those of us that have data plans. I have a data plan. I have to balance how much data I use. I don't think D&D Beyond would use a hell of a lot of data in, you know, what I use.
And yeah, it does not... at least, I haven't bought any books through D&D Beyond, but, like, I'm on the basic rules right now on the app, and no, there does not look like there's a way to download it.
So you're buying... Well, it's like one of those things that you always have to worry about. Like, it's like the viability of Steam. You buy a lot of games through Steam, but the problem is like, as soon as Steam would... If something would happen to Steam, to Valve, then you're screwed. Now, granted, Valve's pretty stable right now, but you have to watch it. A lot of these, like things with buying video games, this is the kind of same way. You're only owning it through there. Though... Oh,
no, wait. Actually, no, because, like, the Player's Companion, you can download it.
Okay, so you can download...
So I think you can download the books you buy.
If you can download the books you buy...
regular PDF.
If you can download them as regular PDF, that is the only thing that I think is a saving grace here. And that's the one thing I was worrying about. Because that's what I was saying is, like, with the Steam stuff, you could always download all of it or something beforehand, like if you had the disk space or if you had some, like, extra portable hard drives, you know, before things would shut down. And just have them uploaded on something for eventual probably use or not use. You could still have a copy of them somehow. But for this, that's what I'm worrying about. If you can download a PDF, which is it's a questionable thing at this point in time, but that's kind of we've kind of moved away into like a side topic from this one.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
No, it's a fine side topic. It's a problem with D&D Beyond, which I think is something that I've always kind of had a little bit of a problem with. Is like
I'm hoping that's going to be one of the people we get to talk to at PAX. I would really like to have a good conversation with them.
Oh yeah, no, I would love to talk to them, and I would like to be like, what the hell's with your price points? If they can say it's because of the connections with Wizards and what Wizards wants to cost, I will not have a problem with them answering it that way.
Yeah, but I honestly think that's what it is. From understanding that they're just a preferred retailer or distributor of them. I think that's what it is. That they have set price points they have to sell the books at.
Yeah, no,
and they still need to make a profit.
Oh, of course, yeah, and I can understand trying to make a profit, but if it's on the side of Wizards that they're charging, let's say like X amount for a PDF, they're probably charging too much for a glorified PDF that you have to like take effort to download rather than, it's you own it through our site until you actually physically would download it then. So.
Right. But I think that's the same thing though with, like Roll20. You're buying stuff. If you buy stuff in the marketplace of Roll20, what happens if Roll20 eventually, folds? You bought all these tokens and everything else to use to it, and then, I got nothing.
No. The thing is, like, the Roll20 stuff is definitely more of an investment than a lot of stuff, and you have to worry about a lot of digital investments, and you have to be wise about your digital investments about what you're going to get the most out of. Like, if you're using a lot of those tokens and building a lot of maps and stuff and using them for a long period of time, then great. Then you're doing pretty good. So.
Yeah. But anyway, I know, back to...
Yeah, let's move on, though, because we do have some more topics to carry. They have D&D versus Rick and Morty. So... This here seems to be a box set, from what I've been able to say. It's got a little, like, Dungeon Master screen. It's a physical box. It has a adventure for 5 players, levels 1 to 3. So it's not a big thing. But I guess if you want to, like, if you are a fan of the show and want to have it a little bit of that humor marred with your Dungeons and Dragons, then that's what to do. The thing is, we were discussing this, and neither of us are particularly huge fans of the show, so...
I've heard good things about it, I just never really had a chance to get into it.
I just, like, from the clips, some of the clips I saw did not entertain me enough. That's what it was. It's like, they didn't catch me with the stuff that people were liking a lot. And it's... I don't know, it's like... I'll put it this way. I'm not against lowbrow humor, but lowbrow humor is very hit and miss for me. I'm not going to laugh at all of it. Even if it's like... Or like lowbrow, highbrow humor, I guess it's supposed to be, because it's like, it's smart lowbrow humor kind of thing, I'd call it. But that doesn't matter. If it's like, I get it. I just... It's not...
It's not your forte.
It's never caught me, It seems like they're trying to do interesting things, but backing away from the actual show, yeah, it's $30 for this. That's not a bad price for a box set, for like a Dungeon Master's screen, for just a small adventure. Especially if you're a fan of the show and maybe want to do something a little sillier of a game. There's a time and a place for silly games, and hey, a product for it. It's great. That's what I was saying, like, the Acquisitions Incorporated stuff was pretty decent that they did that, if they're using that kind of thing for stuff, too.
Right.
It's just, they're different directions for your humor, I guess is what it is. So, yeah. I don't know much else I have to say about this one. Like, Wizards does not necessarily provide a huge amount of information on it. That's a good way of saying it. I'm like trying to like find more out about what's in there. Okay, so there's a comic in there. from okay, who's done the people who do the actual comic series for it. There's a 64-page rule book with annotations as if by the character Rick, the 32-page adventure, the Dungeon Master Screed, 5 ready-to-play character sheets, and 11 dice. So there you go. So if there are people that like the comic book series, then this would be very good for them, too. Because I knew there was a comic book series, I couldn't remember there was a comic book series until I was reading this, you know? That also accompanied it. So, definitely. So if you're a fan of the comic book or the actual TV series, then this would be a really good gift for people. And someone that's also a fan of D&D. And,
yeah.
So...
I mean, it looks like it could be an interesting comedy game.
Yes, definitely. Especially because it looks like, you know, you can, from the images I show, like, I can see that, like, one of the characters is supposed to be, like, at least Morty as, like, I guess a thief or something. Rogue, I should say. I'm trying to go second edition there. So. But, yeah. Nope. Oh, I didn't put up that image on screen. I should totally have done that. Whatever. We're skipping by it now. I forgot to do the image of it. But the Rick and Morty versus D&D, or D&D versus Rick and Morty, if you're definitely a fan of the show at all, this is a product for people that aren't fans of the show, I have to say.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they sold it to me, who's maybe not necessarily a fan of the show, and that's one of the problems about the product. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the show has a pretty huge fan base, and probably a lot of them play D&D. So, you know, it's a nerdy fan base that they have. So I cannot argue that it is not a good product for Wizards to put out. And a $30 box set's not awful. So.
No, not at all.
So let's move on though, because I do want to talk about Godtear. Well, Godtear, I'm sorry. Let me get a drink for.
Godtear.
And then I'll set up the image.
Borderlands.
Well, there's the Borderlands starter set.
Eternal Glade starter set.
I'm guessing that they were two things, because it was a Kickstarter. I'm guessing there were two versions that were out with the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Though sometimes it's hard to tell with these things, like, why they're what they are. By sometimes, I mean often, because figuring things out. Hey, there it goes. I got it up on the screen. Oh boy, that was the wrong thing to click on to, like, move around. Yay! So, it's a combat game for 2 players. As you can see there, it's kind of got a board.
Hex board.
It's reminiscent of a lot of those miniatures games, but there's like a self-contained one, which is why I like this a little bit better. Because I don't mind that we have these like big miniatures games like Warhammer and stuff. When there are these self-contained little sets, I like it so much better.
Right.
Because then you don't like. Granted, I could get expansions and special stuff for it, but
yeah, because they have extra miniatures for them.
Yeah, which is not bad, but when you start with something a little bit more self-contained, rather than trying to, like, you know, with Warhammer, where you're building, like, a party of stuff individual.
Yeah, it's so extensive.
Mm-hmm. So you take control of a warband, you're fighting to claim the Godtears, which is multiple, even though the title is only one. Don't ask me. That's why I wanted to call it Godtears, thank you very much. Set the Throne of Immortality, gained untold power, yeah. It's got 12 highlight detailed, pre-colored, pre-assembled miniatures, a double-sided battlefield, 12 dice, the objective hexes, profile, dashboards, and tokens. It's out of the box. It's simple as that. And that's everything that you need for 2 players to get started. That's it.
Yeah.
Pretty simple, pretty there. Now, as you were saying, they have the Eternal Glade starter set, which I don't know what difference it has.
Different map. I mean, same size map, but different things on the battlefield.
Oh, okay. And I think it's
different characters.
Different characters too. So, like, it would be one of those things like a little bit Munchkin where you could each play these individually, or you could get both and then mix and match maybe, too.
Yeah.
So I don't mind that, too. Granted, they're
and then they have the additional miniatures that you can get, so you can have more variety of what characters you're playing.
Yeah, it seems to have more, they've got 4 different teams, which are each $30, but they're a set of how many miniatures for $30?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it looks like.
Yeah, 6 miniatures. 6 miniatures for 30?
You have dwarves, elves, looks like an ogre, and orcs.
Yeah. I put 30 on miniatures as a for me, I'm going to say. Just because it depends on, like, how much of a fan of... If I'm a real big fan of the game, maybe. That's what I'm going to say.
Okay, so you have... What they come with is the 6 detailed... Yep, it is 6.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-colored, pre-assembled miniatures. Rhodey's Thane of Forsaken holds 4 Household Guard, Rhodey's Banner, and 3 profile cards, as an example. So...
Does the image not reflect it if they're pre-colored?
Pre-colored means they're, like, each one is a different color. Like, each set is one color.
Oh, that's how they're going it by. They're doing the sets are different colors.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, if these were painted...
Like, if their bases were all blue. Like, I'm looking at the dwarves, so
Yeah.
if their bases were blue and stuff.
And then the actual miniatures themselves had some detailed paint. Kind of like how D&D minis are.
Yeah.
Then I would say, yeah, $30 is appropriate. But that they're just colored, the whole thing is just a colored plastic, that doesn't make me feel that $30...
Yeah, this is the price point which is losing me a little bit. And as I said, what I think for me is if I would invest in something like this, I would have had to play the base game. I would have had to enjoy the base game a lot and said to myself, this looks like it would add a lot of cool variety. And then I might invest in the $30. And only maybe then. But I also might look for a sale. I'm sorry. I would definitely look for a sale before getting it. 30 is a high price point for it. For a set of this few miniatures. Like, granted, selling something on its own would be more expensive. But consider that the entire game previously, with twice the number of miniatures, is $50.
Yeah,
even if
you're only spending $20 less to get one more group.
I would say it should be between 20 and 25.
Yeah.
And I would, if they put me at 25, I would feel like it's like a little expensive, but I would also think to be like packaging and extra art and all that stuff is probably what put up the price. Because for me in my brain, you know, for that original set, they're charging 20 for the miniatures each. 20
Right.
because it's double what it is. So it's 40 for all the miniatures, 20 and 20. And granted, if these miniatures have a lot of little details to them, actually, if I would see them, that would mean a big difference. Like, detailed miniatures, well-made miniatures would make the difference. So that's why, like, I would want to try out the base one before I even consider this. And then, as I'm saying, it still is a bit higher than the price point I would feel like is appropriate for what my brain says.
Right. Yeah, I think they are a little on the high side.
Granted,
Like $50 for the game, that's fine.
yeah.
But for the expansions, they should be sitting more like 20.
Yeah. Granted, they could have reasons behind 30, and I understand that, but it just...
Probably production costs.
It's probably production costs.
Stuff like that.
But the nature of it just... As a consumer, it pushes me off a little bit.
Agreed.
And we're talking about Steamforged, who are a miniature company.
Right, so they already have
they do a lot of miniatures.
That high.
Or a lot of things that do like miniatures a lot of times. Not all of it. But, like, because, like, they did the Dark Souls board game, but they also did the card game. So they do other
Right.
stuff too. But I've heard of Steamforged when it comes to miniatures a bunch.
Right.
You know, so they have that entire Guild Ball thing, which is a big thing of miniatures. You know, but it looks like they have they have very detailed but high priced miniatures. So I think this might, if it's as detailed as it seems, I really want to see them before I make a decision too. If the details are really, really good, it might win me over. You know, that's the only thing I could say. So, this is a very, in a weird hit and miss situation for me for this game. For the expansions, the single group miniatures. But the 2 starter sets seem cool. Either of those seem neat. I mean, you could take a look at them. As it says, like, you know, if I feel like this is the kind of thing that, like, if one of your gaming group wanted to get one and another person in the gaming group wanted to get the other, and that way you could have some mix and match adventures between the 2 of you, cool. You know, you could all use just one of the sets, you could mix and match the sets, do interesting things like that, and it would be kind of neat.
Right.
I think the only other little complaint is 2 players. No. So maybe if they have a more player rule or something, if you're using multiple maps or something, I would love to see that at some point in time. But
yeah, that might be something they eventually come out with.
It could be.
Streamcat.
Streamcat returns. She left, stopped being noisy, and then she decided, you know what? I wasn't noisy enough. I got to be noisier again. So now we have to look into something, because I know very little about it. We have to look into some Car Wars, because apparently there's a 6th edition of it out.
By Steve Jackson Games.
Yeah,
Now, I don't know if this was originally a Steve Jackson
it's
game, or if it's something that they like they've got the rights to produce.
That's a good question. There's apparently a Car Wars classic. Car Wars, I can click on it on Wikipedia. In 1983 was the first one.
So I think that predates Steve Jackson.
No, it does not. Steve Jackson Games was started in 1980.
Oh.
And
Okay.
so it is something that they did develop. It's just they're coming out with a 6th edition of it.
I've never heard of the game before, so I didn't realize it was one of theirs.
I had to look it up here on Wikipedia. I did not realize Steve Jackson Games started in 1980. And this is actually one of their first games, because the original came out in 1980, they said. Yeah. So, back in the day, this is one of the first things that Steve Jackson Games came out with. Cool. They're coming out with a 6th edition with it. Great. It's been nearly 40 years. I can understand a 6th edition. You know,
God, you make me feel old.
Too bad. Enjoy.
I feel old.
Yeah, it looks like the first one came out in the early 1980s. Then the 2nd edition came out in 85, 3rd edition 89, 4th edition 1990, and the 5th edition 2002. So it has been.
It's been quite a while since they came out with an edition of it.
Yes.
So that's probably why it's not on our radar.
No. Yeah.
Or at least the previous versions.
Yeah.
Not to mention, racing games aren't exactly.
Well, I think this is
my interest.
I don't know how racy it is and how much not. Maybe it's like a weird in between of like racy Mad Max kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So like they do say like see also Mad Max battle cars. Yeah. I'm like yeah it's Mad Maxian. But the reason that I kind of threw this up here is because I know it could have happened up till now. But we do talk a lot of Kickstarters on this show, and this is the first time I've heard about pre-campaign stretch goals. They already have them out. Now, you'd say, like, because, like, remember, when we talk about stretch goals, we're not just talking about, like, monetary stretch goals. They also talk about, like, followers and shares and things like that. And this is a followers one. 1,000 followers, I'm guessing, of the Kickstarter campaign, because when you click on the link on Steve Jackson Games' Facebook page, they provide the link to where the game will be, and they have a notify me on it. And they already have 2,638 followers. So they just mentioned needing 1,000 for one of these pre-campaign stretch goals. They got it. But it's the fact
they're already up to the 2,500.
Yeah.
Unlocked. So they just, I mean, there's only 3 more tiers: 3,000, 3,500, and 4,000, which they don't show you what the last 2 are.
But these are very interesting stretch goals, because these have to be things that they've already factored into the price that don't affect overall the campaign. That's the trick about them, because these are follows. These aren't even funding. The idea normally of a stretch goal is, I got more money than I needed. What can I do with it? I can provide more product for you.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's Steve Jackson Games. They probably are betting that they're going to make their funding.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sorry. Having already over 2,500 people following your campaign without it even being out is definitely a good sign that they're going to make whatever money they're looking for. Especially because it's plastic miniatures. It's a board game. It's not even, it's like, they never have a huge amount. Well, they have a decent amount for their munchkins, but I'm guessing usually the reason that they have a pretty decent amount for their munchkins is because they want a big print, They want to have a bigger print of it, and that's the point of it. That's why they have a little bit of money, and they probably are aiming for a bigger print here. And this is probably going to be a little bit more expensive because it's a miniatures game, too.
I think part of the reason why they do it, too, is they have so many products that they do, that it's like, okay, well, it'll make it a little easier to, the ones that we're not looking to fund, make those, that we can put the money towards, and with the ones that are like, this could be something, but we're not 100% sure on how overall it's going to be received, we'll kickstart that one, so we're not using all our funds to do that.
Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to.
Because it looks like it's mostly okay, so the entire idea is to improve the Uncle Al's upgrade pack, which is a free bonus on Kickstarter project day of launch. So it's like this like little bonus that you can get, that they're improving it the more people follow to set it up for it.
Right.
And
that probably gives them a good idea of like, ooh, okay, so we had this many followers, probably an X% of them will buy into the campaign.
They're interested in it, at least in the base level.
Yeah.
It's an interesting tactic, and a tactic I don't necessarily mind. This is it's early advertising Kickstarter, which is advertising. It's what it really is. It's advertising, and I can't bust advertising, especially if people seem interested in it. Like, Steve Jackson Games is at a very weird point that, like, I feel sometimes they Kickstarter too much stuff, but there is a bunch of stuff that when they Kickstarted, I'm like, okay, I understand that. A 6th edition of Car Wars, it's been 20 years. I can understand that maybe they don't want to, like, necessarily go whole hog into supporting it without having an idea that people will really like it.
Right. I think that's what makes them, partly what makes them a successful company is that they try to try to lower their risks by doing things like this. It's sometimes early on we questioned. It's like, yeah, but they have all the money that they have big company. Why do they need to Kickstarter this stuff? But that's why they keep being successful, is they aren't risking all their money on projects that they're not 100% sure on.
or when they do risks, they have enough financial background to replace it. I'm looking at you, Munchkin CCG.
Oh God, yeah.
You know, that was, I don't know if it was necessarily could be called a financial flop, but the overall thing was not good result. And
no,
they did get through it all right, and maybe they made enough money to make it that they don't have like a huge financial loss on it. But
yeah, it wasn't exactly a giant success.
And I think that taught them a lot. I think that's why they're probably shouldering a lot more in Kickstarters now, because then they're judging a little bit more about how many
get
people
an
like
idea what the response to these things are ahead of time.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so, you know, is this going to be just a Kickstarter thing that we do, and then maybe a small release, but it won't be a huge thing that we invest a lot of money into, or does there seem to be a lot of interest, and this is something that we can greenlight to, you know, try to make a bigger release of?
I mean, I have to say, I didn't realize they've been around since 1980. You know, that's one of those things, is they've been around long enough that I'm like, dang. God, now I'm looking it up. I did not realize that Steve Jackston, the actual guy, was the actual designer of GURPS. I always thought that they acquired it at some point in their entire history. But no, they actually did goddamn make GURPS. Well, crap.
Yeah, that makes sense why they've been around so long then.
Yeah. GURPS was always something that I didn't even realize, you know, because it's like one of those ones that have always been in the background, you know. I never try it, but I always knew about it, you know. Even in the third edition days, I knew about, like, GURPS. And that's back in the early 2000s, when I really got to start, like, knowing a lot of different role-playing games out there, you know. That's where you're not using, I wasn't using like my brother's knowledge and like, you know, and connections through older people to learn about these things, when you could like kind of and you got your internet a lot more to like learn about some of these things. But so neat. So
keep an eye on it. They will be Kickstartering it soon. I forget if I saw when. Let me see something. No, it just says upcoming project coming soon. I don't think they put a release date out when they're going to be Kickstartering it yet.
So we have one small thing that I want to go move us on to next, and that is a little bit of follow-up. We did talk about it previously. I do remember us talking about it for a little bit here. Agatha Christie's Death on the Cards. Wow, that does not work correctly. I thought it would, but it did not when I tried to set the image correctly. Let's just do that. That should be good enough for me.
I mean, it's Modifius. That's always good.
Man, this is just weird that it's not working correctly. Whatever, I'm trying to set up the image and it's not working right, so whatever, screw it. Yeah, it's Modifius. We don't see a lot of board or card games from them, a few. They are very much so more of an RPG company. Yeah. But I think we talked about it a little bit, 2 to 6 players, 20 to 40 minutes to play. If you're a fan of Agatha Christie stuff, which I'm actually a pretty good fan. I like a good Miss Marple. I like Perot. They're classic.
Harley Quinn.
Uh-huh.
Wild card. I didn't know there was a Harley Quinn in Agatha Christie.
There's a lot of characters. Oh, I forgot that one. Yeah. Uh-huh. Mr. Harley Quinn. There's a lot of weird characters for that too.
Yeah.
So it features a lot of the major characters from her work, like Perot and Marple and some of the others. She created a lot of them. I really, you know, like You know, I think it was the 1960s Murder in the Orient Express is actually a movie I really like. You know, not the latest version of it.
I hadn't seen it yet, so.
It's not bad, but it's not great. Like, let me put it this way. They did the Murder of Orient Express with David Shuchon, or I'm probably butchering his name, the guy who did all the Poirot's for the modern day incarnations when they did them for TV, you know, on like Masterpiece Mystery, you know. He did a Murder of Express, it was pretty good. I still like that original one better. And like, you know, there's been a lot of different versions of Miss Marble and stuff too. They're mixed bag, usually pretty good for doing stuff. And some people do some very interesting things with the stories. But anyway, it looks like an interesting little card game. This is actually one that, it's like, I put about like $20 around, because it's like 15 pounds.
Yeah, so it's around 20. Probably it's $15.99. I think it would be like around $19.99 US.
Yeah. It's actually one that if I see somewhere, like when we're at PAX Unplugged, I might get this one. You know, this looks like a cute little game that is, you know, my you know, side love of mysteries that are somewhere off over there, you know, that I can sit down and enjoy a good mystery. This will kind of maybe fill it. You know, you always have those little like things that you like, but maybe aren't like your top. Oh, this is so great kind of thing. But so
yeah.
But we did talk about it previously when it was announced, and I just wanted to. You're over there, then. That's why it was a problem.
$14.99 would be $19.24 in US dollars.
Huh. Okay. So I figured out the problem with the image is it was capturing the wrong browser completely, even though it had me fix the area for the image on the one browser. It was having us technically capture it from the other, which is stupid.
Yes.
Thank you, technology. Thank you.
It's strange.
So I did want to talk about this one because, I mean, we talk about a bunch of Wizkids games, so I did want to move on to Stampede. It's a, you know, you're building a stamp collection in Stampede.
And it's an animal stamp collection, so
yes,
there's the pun.
Mm-hmm.
You either want to get...
you broke me there for a second.
What?
It's like, there's the pun. It was like, I wasn't going to say it, but you got me with that statement on it.
Well, it is a pun. It's
I know!
Stampede.
I know! But I wasn't going to say it. You keep going, go on.
You have to either match 5 of the same animal or have 9 distinct animals. That's what you're trying to collect.
In order to stamp out the competition.
Yes.
Thanks, Wizkids, for that joke.
Each animal stamp has a unique action that grants different effects when played into a player's stamp album. From taking cards from other player albums to exchanging hands with other players, these abilities can change the game faster than you can lick a stamp.
So I guess it's the entire idea that, like, as you play cards to try to build your collection, you have to deal with these actions that they're dealing with, and sort of like moving things around and altering things.
It's like, oh, I have 4 hippopotami. I just need 1 more. And then someone goes, actually, I'm taking one of your hippos. And switching it with a giraffe.
Now I have a giraffe. Oh.
Well, that doesn't match.
Now, this is a way out game. You know, they've announced it here with a pretty decent thing. They're saying spring 2020, so it's a little while, and you can pre-order it at game stores for when it comes out. But even their website isn't up, because like the link they have for the website, it doesn't link. on the announcement page. That's how new this one is, and for some of them, well, you know,
it will be $20.
Yeah, so that's not a bad price for a little card game. Wizkids does. The reason I think I like talking about Wizkids stuff is they often put out a lot of interesting small things like this alongside the bigger stuff, which, you know, we've talked about too.
Yeah, and you get 90 stamp cards, 1 stamp exchange area card, 6 double-sided player aid cards, and 1...
Oh. I did manage... The link doesn't work, but you can go to the site, and they do have the rules already up.
Ah.
At least a version of the rules.
Yeah.
Not...
They do also have an asterisk that all components subject to change.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that new that they're like,
they're probably still testing things out.
Yeah, they probably have the major testing done. They're probably like... Right,
they might be doing tweaking and stuff still.
Yeah, like some of the component tweaking at this point in time, definitely.
Yeah.
So, we'll see more on it in the future. We may or may not follow up on it. Oh, God, Wizkids is 20 years old, too. God, they've got that advertised. Ugh.
Well, oldness. That's 99 now.
Yeah, I know, but still. It's just more oldness. Back
in our day.
We have one final main topic then, and that's a Bob's Burger board game. Now, the thing is, like, they did a Simpsons thing. This is Usaoploy, so I can see them doing this too. And the reason that I kind of wanted to talk about it is I, don't really watch it. I'm not, like, a particular fan of the show. I know that my brother watches it occasionally with his niece, because it's actually... unlike Simpsons, it doesn't... It keeps the humor to a level that he doesn't have to worry about, usually.
Right.
It still has humor that adult would like, but it doesn't, like, go for very crude stuff that you might not have to worry about.
And apparently this is, like, the 4th Bob's Burger things that Usaoploy has done, because they have, apparently, a Monopoly Bob's Burger edition, Clue Bob's Burger edition...
Really, Clue?
And Jenga.
Jenga?
Bob's Burger edition.
Jenga? What? Usaoploy, what the hell is with you? No, I'm going to go on their clues and see how many clues they have now.
Okay, so the Jenga one...
Yeah, they do. Clue, Walking Dead, D&D, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Five Nights at Freddy's, It, Rick and Morty, Riverdale, Golden Girls, Big Bang Theory, Scooby-Doo, Nightmare
Golden
Christmas.
Girls is Who Ate the Last Piece of Cheesecake.
2 different Nightmare... No, they put the Monopoly on there. And A Nightmare Before Christmas. Those are way too many clues. And how are they different from each other? Like at least we knew that D&D and It Clue were sort of different, even though they weren't greatly different.
Well, Jenga actually has, like, cards involved, a spinner, and there's, like, little guys... characters stuck to some of the tiles.
Oh, that's weird.
So there's alternative rules to this.
Great. Okay, now I really have to dive into this thing. Oh my god. Ah, god. I had to look it up. I went into Yahtzee because that was a thing that I saw when I looked up the Clue under their brands. They have more than one Yahtzee.
Nah, that doesn't surprise me.
No, you don't get it. They have Nightmare Before Christmas. They have Ren and Stimpy Yahtzee.
What makes it... I mean, the dice just have Ren and Stimpy on them?
Well, the dice... I guess so, and the dice thing apparently is log.
But I'm just saying, what really makes it... a different type of game.
I'm looking at these up. They literally have, like, versions. They have the themes. The themes seem to be of, like, classic games updated with, like, things like a Harry Potter Scrabble and Nightmare Before Christmas Operation. Ooh, how about Risk? Okay, Game of Thrones Risk. I gotcha. Call of Duty Black Ops Zombies Risk? Where the hell are they wrong? Ah!
How about Rick and Morty Jenga?
I'm going to back away from that now. I'm going down a rabbit hole I shouldn't go down with when it comes to, this is at least an original product.
Yes.
I don't want to go down that rabbit hole anymore. It's a bad rabbit hole and it hurts my soul.
But yeah, I've never watched Bob's Burgers. I don't like the animation style personally.
Mm-hmm. Again, it's like I can understand that. It's you're collecting like little condiments and stuff. You know, you're building stuff up. There's like arts and crafts component. God, I've lost my train of brain now that we've like dived into this depth of Usaoploy again.
You have a train of brain?
I know, they do. It's like every time I excuse Usaoploy for some of the stuff they do, then I find something else that hurts my soul with them.
This seems like one of those games where you're flicking things too.
Probably, because it's a food fight.
Yeah. And you have little spatulas and little paper foods.
Man, I'm now going down a rabbit hole that I shouldn't go down. I'm gonna say that.
Meatless Mondays and Taco Tuesdays live up to a weekly dinner plan. Bob's Burgers, Belcher family food fight can be played 3 different ways.
Ooh, 3 different ways.
Let's see. You can pretty much give up on having a plate to yourself when you serve up a round of family-style dinner. With this variation, players' mats are passed to the left or right anytime a player rolls a 3. Imagine moving quickly as you could just to pick up someone's slack. And while variety is the spice of life, Tina's hint, the rulebook recommends getting the basic gameplay down a few times before doing this advanced mode.
Oh, you know, I've gone down a rabbit hole that I'm done going down.
Stop. Yes, stop. Let's finish this topic.
So, it seems like it's a flick game. It seems like an interesting little flick game. I mean,
and dice.
Flicking dice. You know, it doesn't seem like a bad game. 3 to 6 players, ages 8 and up. You know, $20, which is not a huge price. So, yeah. Thanks for that at least, Usaoploy. You know, I'm gonna wash my brain of this one. Let's move on. I can't. You.
Okay, so it doesn't. I'm watching the playthrough on their site real quick.
Okay.
It doesn't look like you're actually flicking. It looks like it's just a fast-paced dice rolling game, and you're kind of moving components around very quickly.
Oh, so you're moving stuff, and you're using the little spatulas to move things, I guess, back and forth.
No, the spatulas are score points.
Oh.
You're trying to win the golden spatula.
Oh, I got you. I understand now. So it's moving things back and forth, and it's a dice game.
You're trying to build burgers and have the right ingredients to do so.
Okay. Gotcha. Neat. Okay.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yep. But so yeah, let's move on to our regular components. I destroyed my soul enough for a day, forever. Because, yes. Our weekend tabletop? That's a regular component, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, no, it's deeper discussion. We don't have anything. Kickstarter.
Well, I have one for Kickstarter.
Okay, you go. I didn't have anything great, so why don't you go?
I have one that to mention more than anything. It's a game that we talked about before, City of Mist role-playing game.
Oh.
They have their starter box now on Kickstarter.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
So I figured that it was a good thing to bring up. So far, 26 days ago, they have 161 backers. They're at about $8,500 out of $20,000 goal. You can get into it with as small of a pledge as $15 to get the starter set PDF. Which that's really nice.
Yeah.
And then you can get if you want the starter box, which includes, the hard copy and PDFs, it's $28. So that's still really good. And then it goes up to starter box plus the player's guide for $63. You can get for $75. You can get the complete PDF bundle, which you get a starter set PDF, player's guide, MC toolkit, shadows and showdowns. Expansion, Knights in Pain Town cases, 6 district PDFs, and 2 small-time villain PDFs. So, I mean, and then it goes up from there. Basically, then you get the almost same thing at $89 with starter box and core rule books, hard editions, and I think they also include all the ones include the PDFs when you get the hard ones, which is nice. $149, you get starter box, all 4 books plus the PDF bundle, and then the ultimate one's $219 for the starter box, core set, Into the Mist set, accessory set, all the and then the 6 district PDFs and villain PDFs as well for the $219 ultimate collection.
Neat.
So, I mean, it is a system that I would like to look into.
Yeah.
And I'm actually slightly considering maybe doing the $15 pledge. It's just to get the starter PDFs, and maybe we can try it sometime.
Yeah. Seems like it would be neat.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's the City of Mist RPG, the starter box, up on Kickstarter now. 26 days to go, so you got like most of a month to support it. So it's really good amount of time.
Almost till Christmas.
As I said, I never found a really great Kickstarter. I had a couple that I could talk about, but we're getting on the back end of time, and they weren't interesting enough to like throw out there.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Like I said, I saw the City of Mist.
Oh, no, that was a really good one.
Something that we talked about before, so
I had a few half interesting board games that I had like to choose between that had gotten down to. So, let's do our week in tabletop then. I don't think there was a lot on this week. We did Pandemic last Saturday, which was really fun. We lost twice. We lost twice, right?
Yeah.
We lost we lost to Outbreaks, and we ran out of cards the last minute the second time. That's right. We ran out of cards, which both sucks, and it was the luck of the deck at that point in time. We had no way of predicting that the direction we took, we would have ran out of cards that we needed. Like, the last 3 cards were all yellow, and we needed to get someone with 5 yellow, and there was no physical way to get me 5 yellow on the last couple of turns.
Right.
It was an unfortunate thing of just the setup was just bad that way. Just by luck.
Yeah, it just sometimes can happen.
Yeah. As I said, the deck just, the first time we got outbreaked up the wazoo very quickly. So, it was still fun, but, and then we did some Unfair on Sunday, for Sunday's Tabletop, finally returned to that, which we, saw us, we tried out three of the new, there's an expansion coming out soon, I guess, for Unfair. And we tried Aliens, Western, and B-movies.
Yes.
Aliens added a very interesting element, I have to say.
Yep, a new form of cash kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That can only be done with, used on alien stuff.
Yeah.
But also were worth more points than regular gold is. Or stars. So that was interesting. We also, with B-movies, that unlocks the panorama.
Yeah, so if you're using B-movies, you get the panoramas, which isn't like an interesting scoring thing.
Yeah, it's a whole nother level of, if I can get these built in a certain way.
I don't quite understand the scoring for them yet. Fortunately, we were playing a scripted version that scored for us.
Yeah.
I I'm gonna have to like read up on those rules a lot if we're gonna use B movies again. And Western didn't add anything, but it was
Western. The only thing you got from that was it was easy to make a panorama in.
Yes, and there was a couple other interesting little things there that.
Yeah, I'm curious to try out the other one.
Dinosaur, yeah.
Dinosaurs, yeah.
We'll have to do that at some point in time. But yeah, we'll have to maybe revisit Unfair in the near future because of that, definitely. Because it was definitely fun to play it. It was nice, like, kind of return to form.
And it should be in stores in January, the expansion, apparently.
Mm-hmm. We're guessing that, like, the reason it's up on, you can find it on Roll20 is probably because Kickstarter. It probably came out because Unfair was a Kickstarter. It probably came out to the people from the Kickstarter.
I know, because they said on their Kickstarter page it wouldn't be started delivery until January. So I'm thinking maybe the gaming company itself might have uploaded
something. Maybe
someone who works there
might have
uploaded it to kind of promote it.
That definitely could have. It's hard to say with these things sometimes. So. But, yeah, it's definitely something to check out if you're looking into that game, if you like that game. And then, I think that was it for the week, because I ended up getting 0 role-playing games after that, because a medical issue with a family member had Jess being unable to join us on Tuesday. I haven't gotten a report back from her yet about what's going on, but hopefully I'll hear something, that it's positive.
Right.
So, but definitely, hopefully back on Tuesday for that. But Consult the Tabletop, our last kind of segment here, where if you have a question for us, if you want to throw it up here in the Twitch chat, if you want to put it in the comments of the YouTube channel, if you want to reach us on my Discord, either of us are both on my Discord, so it's great to either direct message or to throw the question up in Discord if it's something you want to share with everybody. You can email us at discussingtabletop@yahoo.com, or you can reach us at each of our Twitters, which are linked at the @ below our names here. So lots of ways to reach us. Yeah, so I guess tomorrow grinding gears?
Yes, tomorrow grinding gears at 7 o'clock.
Yep.
See everyone then.
Yeah, some D&D. I get to be a player. Joe gets to TM it. It's been very fun. I've enjoyed it. We're finding our stride with the game for a bi-weekly game, so I'm very happy with that. And
and I'm starting to improve a little bit as a DM because ages.
Yeah, you haven't actually DM'd in ages, and it's a different beast to DM on streaming too. I definitely have to say. Hopefully Legacies of Kain, Records of Evil will both be back on Tuesday. As long as everything's going, we'll let people know. And then Thursday's still going to be off for a while. It's Thanksgiving anyway this week. So I was going to assume it was going to be like Thanksgiving and then the week before PAX Unplugged. I wasn't planning on getting anything started until December. So hopefully by a second, third week of December, we can have the new game on Thursdays. Up at least maybe. I don't know if I want to do some prequels first with people and then move into the full game. I don't know how I'm going to run that. I'm going to figure that out too, because I feel like this is a game that I might want to do little prequel sessions with people, so I might do them. And then next Saturday, Discussing Tabletop again. So. Yep. And I should be streaming a few times during the week. I probably am not going to do anything major. It's probably just going to be a couple 2-hour streams like I've been doing for the past couple of times I've been doing it. But I'm going to try to throw a couple in here and there just so I'm at least doing something for you guys. Even if it's just me more getting freaked out by stuff and doing weird explorations in 7 Days to Die. Because that actually has been very fun. And I've enjoyed it a lot. And I hope people have enjoyed it too. And I'm building a really cool base in that one that I've enjoyed building. Constructing a building.
Yes,
has been fun. Normally I build boxes in survival games like that you build a home in. I have gone for some architecture this time. I have a balcony, I have a second floor. I made a staircase up. I'm trying to make things look a little nice, things like that. Different thing for me. But anyway, we're gonna go for now. I will be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. 2 of us, and we'll also be back next week for more Discussing Tabletop. So Have a great rest of your Saturday. Have a great rest of your weekend. And a great rest of your week. And we'll see you here next time. Bye, everyone.